Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, know nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault, episode 505. Third reason. This is the third of three reasons you're not in trust, and it's about association. So we're definitely going to talk about that today. The third reason you're not in trust is association. And so we're going to actually go into depth here in this conversation. This is going to be one of those conversations that's generally based off of conversations we've had on the line in consultations, on the line and, with people that are inquiring about trustee training. So appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen to replay. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed, but definitely hit the like. We always appreciate everybody that boosts the channel up in the algorithm. Appreciate you showing love by hitting the like. So the third of three reasons you're not in trust. Appreciate Mississippi for starting out by tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate Mississippi for tuning in live, listening to replay. Feel free to type into the chat where you tune in live, listen to replay. Hit the like button and then subscribe so you can get the pop-up episodes. The third reason you're not in trust association. This was the easy one. And we look forward to having this discussion here today, which is quite simple. Are you associating with people that are not just richer than you, but you are associating with excellent elite asset managers? So here's a simple analogy. If we're all right on the airplane and we're all making 100K, sounds like we're all on the same airplane. There are moments where you can be making whatever you're making and you can go associate with people that are flying on airplanes that you might not be on because they have more money. They might have 10 times more money. So they're riding on different airplanes. So there's a choice in life that we have to make. Are we going to ride the airplane that most of the people were around? Or are we going to make it a point to get out of our environment, our normal everyday environment, and associate with people that are in different positions than I am? So we say, oh, it's association. Okay, association. We say we're going into the private. They're inquiring about trustee training. They want to go into the private. So they say it's association. Alrighty. So we're going to talk about prices in a second here. Because this is ultimately what it comes down to. People say, oh, how much does it cost? How much does it cost to go private? To associate with wealthy people? See, ladies and gentlemen, since we're in this environment, we're not going to lie to you. Some people say, oh man, that costs a bit. First of all, if somebody's managing over $300 million, when you're around an asset manager that's, let's just say they're third generation wealth and they're still managing it, or you get fifth generation wealth in the room managing it and they're managing it from a bank, of course you're paying for an association. That's what happens. People pay for the association to get around people that can have those conversations. So, from what we've seen on the marketplace, like at least for like the past 3 to 4 to 5 years, like so you could say like from like 2018, 2019, the marketplace has been where events will generally run you over $1,500. So you'll spend like 2 grand. You might spend like 3 grand at like bigger events that are more private. You just remember, ladies and gentlemen, from what we've seen now, some people can say, oh man, the price ticket in the public is all this 10,000 plus and all this other stuff. Well, in the private sector, they're not too concerned about the door admission fee. First of all, if people are walking in a room that are managing millions of dollars, even if you told them $1,000, it's not hurting them to come sit down and eat dinner and associate with people. So that's not the question. That's definitely not the question. Is the ticket expensive? Is it pricey to sit in a room with these asset managers? Once again, if you think $1,500 is a lot, or $2,000 a lot, or $2,500 is a lot, then clearly you show where your pockets are coming from. So when you're dealing with people that are, when you say, oh, they're asset managers, high level multimillionaire, 100 millionaire asset manager, maybe billionaire asset manager, they move different. So here we go. Some people don't want to know. Some people at these events they're able to come there for free. And yeah, this is a hard reality because if you're outside of the association first, you might pay an initiation fee. A lot of people don't know that, but what you end up doing is paying an initiation fee to get into the network. Once you get in the network, your game changes. So the association might have a fee. Some people say, is this a general association? No, we're talking about the private high net worth investor events. So you're specifically going to, if you're seeking trust, then you're seeking those events. Some people say, oh, it's not that many trust events on the internet. You're right, because it's the private sector. They don't need to have events in the public. That's not. Of course, it takes a little bit further digging deeper. It requires that. But association, here we go. This is a hard reality. Because what if your family and friends are not in trust? So as soon as you hear the trust information, who do you go talk to? Your friends and your family. Well, if that is a situation where they're not in trust, look, ladies and gentlemen, if y'all want to know what the drop off rate could be, even if it was 50%, you think that's great? We don't want to say it's 50. We have a great closing ratio at the vault. At the same time, we're talking about normal customs. Oh, I'm going to talk to my friends and family. Once again, if they're not in trust, that's an interesting conversation, and we know that people have. They almost get discouraged out of it. One out of two. That's how it works. Why? Because they're dealing with people that aren't in it. That's as simple as it gets. But then we could oversimplify it or overcomplicate it by saying, oh, well, what do you mean? Shouldn't I go to my friends and family and talk to them about these type of things? All right, ladies and gentlemen, if people think that that's fine, that's fine. When you get into these sectors, we get trustees all the time say, oh man, I'm over here now and I feel lonely because it's by myself and I'm the only person that knows it in my family and friends set. Exactly. And so then they'll say, oh, well, I'm going to go to the accountant. And the accountant knows less than they know because the vault trains up the trustees. So they know more than the average banker through trustee training. And so they're saying, dang, the association with Trust Christian was a high level, right? And now you're going back in the world where, let's just get here. We see we're going to talk about association today. It's at a high level because we like to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, baby. So we're going to talk about it. So of course it's about your mindset, but the public doesn't want to know the mindset of the elite and the successful. So the vault has no problem with sharing it because it's about association. When you're involved with the elite and successful people, the association, you're going to see certain things happen. So people say, oh man, it's the association. Well, when you're talking about elite and successful, they actually are in trusteeship. So they don't even have any public ties to their families. Most people would think they do. It's sort of like how many politicians we know on the public side that literally their children's name, their last name might be different than their last name, or they're running for public office with like a maiden name, or they're running for public office with a different name. And it's just interesting to know that, for quite a few people, you say, oh, well, why would they do that? Because they understand that they're having to make a new association set with who they are. So the trustees will say, okay, I'm gonna go to some accountant and talk to them about less. They're not even in trusteeship. Trust Christian and Vote. We're so amazed by how many people aren't in trusteeship. Right. You're surprised by this. Surprised by the fact that Association is key. Once you start flying around the bigger players, you have opportunities to investments that you would normally have. Think about this. People even ask us on the line, like, even if somebody tells you they have access to an investment, what benefit is that to you if you can't benefit right now? So it's not to discredit anyone, it's to further inquire. But okay, let's just say you and your friends are making 100K. Oh, some people want to hop on the line. I make 200K. I make this 100K. Okay. We also know the liabilities with those things. What happens when those people associate with people that are literally making like over $10 million a year? Your energy changes. You automatically start thinking about millions. Because you're associating with people that are making tens of millions of dollars a year. They got the same 24 hours in a day that you do. So if you have access to these people, some people say, oh, well, how much does that cost? We know some guy that, what did they recently tell us their mastermind was? The mastermind was supposedly once a month, and it might be over like 10K. Okay, how many people just got 10K to drop a whole month every month for training of their mindset as a C suite executive? Well, people that are making $10 million a year, yes, they have $10,000 to blow on you once a month to give them C suite mindset coaching association. And so look, they reverse it where they're the $10 million person, and now you're paying $10,000 to get access to them. So they're making an extra $10,000. It's not a lot. They're making $10 million a year. $10,000 is actually kind of like a couple days for them. So you are investing to get to the point where you can say, yes, I'm making $10,000 in a few days, where I was paying $10,000 a month. That's how it works. Oh man, it's really, whether y'all know it or not, it's the skinny. That's the facts. Oh man, you get around people that are, not to say just making more money, because that sounds so obtruse. Oh, do they have to make more money? It's no, it's the way that they're making it. What if they're at home? They're proving to you now that you could do it that way. The key is accessibility to these people. Some people say, oh man, how accessible is this person? Whether people want to know it or not, an email is usually how you can catch someone. In the 21st century, you can catch people through an email. A lot of business gets done through email. So you guys can reach out, Christian@trustchristian.com, to associate, Christian@trustchristian.com. Association, you say, okay, we were thinking about doing this next workshop with trustees, and we were like, okay, well, what's the price of the ticket? It could be like a 170 for a returning trustee, and then maybe 350 for a new trustee, someone that wants to get a consultation before it. So that's how that would look, on the public side. Uh, because when you think about it, it's really the cost of entry for association. People say, "Oh, I got to pay for the membership." First of all, you're at Trustee Training. If you want to call it a membership, sounds good. It's a training program, and you can feel free to reach out, Christian@trustchristian.com, through the email. So that's what we would say about that for sure. Association. This was one of those topics where we'll go ahead and tell our story now. There was a story that we want to talk about today that sometimes when you get in environments and you say, oh man, I paid to get in this environment with the big dogs, the big steppers, the guys, I paid my 1,500, paid my 2,000, I paid my 3,000. You get in a room and you still feel like it's kind of cold. You don't feel like it's very warm and it's very accepting. And partially just because you're not known. Sometimes you think about it, you're walking into new environments, so you're walking in there with bigger fish. These fish have never seen you, so how do they get to know you? They got to know you through your online presence. So your online presence could be a LinkedIn page. Some people say, oh, social media. What do you mean social? If you go social, that means people are trying to see what your personal life is like. They're trying to see what your life is like, and whether they can associate with you or not. So they always ask for the social, you know. So we're in a situation where we're having a conversation and we can hear that. We can hear literally people come to the vault all the time. Oh, are you going to be a gatekeeper of the vault? Are you going to be a gatekeeper? Well, it's not about us being a gatekeeper, ladies and gentlemen. We get on the line with people all the time. They'll literally get on the line, try to dominate a conversation, have a conversation with you in a way in which we're not going to really share or collaborate. I'm not really trying to build. And that's the tough part about when you're operating in such a high space. The conversations are shorter. But whether you know it or not, you just get better with your words. You get more precise with your words. You get better with your pitch. Your pitch gets shorter. You don't have a longer pitch. You don't have a 10-minute pitch, a 20-minute pitch. You get it down to, 5-minute pitch and 7-minute pitch. And so when you're having conversations with high level investors and you're having these conversations, once again, some guys are just in the thick of it. They'll tell you to piss off, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the harsh reality is the guys that are making $1 million plus, they could tell you to piss off. It's tough to hear somebody say that, but whether you know it or not, ladies and gentlemen, everybody wants to say, oh, they're practicing nepotism at the $1 million level. Ladies and gentlemen, if you feel like they're not practicing it at the $1 billion level, what makes you think, oh, they just gonna have to do it at the $1 million level? The people at the $1 million level looking to be at the $1 billion level. So it's not one of those situations where you just gonna curse somebody and say, hey, you got to teach me because you're at $1 million level. So this whole movement of, oh, help people out because they're a millionaire now, that's fine. But once again, paying for association. So you get in the room and you start having these conversations and you say, man, this guy didn't even want to collaborate, didn't want to share. But it's like, well, is it on you to share? First of all, if you come into somebody's company, you got to get a good share of the company too. You can't just come into somebody's company and get small, measly price points. And this is the issue that we have with the vault rate now with public companies and people that we've seen moving out here in the business environment. And we're going to go ahead and throw it out there to the public so y'all could go ahead and figure out when you moving out here in business, why are you taking a minority share in the company just so you could be a part of a great thing? That's the complete antithesis of an excellent leader. An excellent leader not just needs to have the largest share, but it's one of those things where you have a majority share. Now, can we at least get an amen on that? Because the majority share is nothing wrong with taking 40% while someone has 30. It's nothing wrong with that. But you can't sit here and say, oh man, I shouldn't get a majority share of the company when you're putting in a lot of the sweat equity to the company. And that's the issue that we see out here in the public marketplaces. Oh, I'm willing to put in a lot of sweat equity. I know these other people have put in sweat equity. You're right. So what's your equity share? We're talking equity, right? You getting equity in these companies, right? But you getting a minority share. See, that's the disadvantage. Somebody can sit here and talk all day to trust Christian in the vault, but we're gonna tell you straight up: if you in a minority share position in the company, you're not playing the game official. Your whistle's not official. The association is critical. It's like associating with, we don't want to say, see, we're going to say that this conversation is for business purposes too, so people don't take this out of context. Some people may have immature minds that they can't handle the information, but it's for business contextual purposes. So we see these guys, it could be girls, but whatever. So we're setting the environment, and these guys, you just sit there and you want to share, man, because when you get in these environments, you're excited to be in there. You're first generation. You're looking to collaborate. You're in there with a bunch of older people, and we're not knocking older people. We're just stating the facts. You're in a room with a bunch of older people that these people are been there. There could be second or third generation rich. You think they want to talk to you? So bam, you gotta overcome that. Bam, you overcome that hurdle. You're sitting in the room, you're having a conversation with them, and still you're wondering when is there going to be a collaboration and a sharing of ideas, other than you putting out all the great ideas because you're the young whippersnapper. You're coming in fresh. You're coming in rambunctious into the environment to grow business and things that nature. Think about it. When y'all sit in the room, when y'all come in these rooms with these people that we talk about that are high net worth investors, they'll tell you, we're not here to grow money. We're here to keep it. We're here to not lose it. Do you hear the difference in mentality, the difference in philosophy, the difference in thought process? The way that they're even going to look at a business transaction is going to be different now because they're completely not like always initially interested. They're halfway, this is probably not going to pass the test, partially because they have prior investments. And they're, you don't want to say that they're comfortable, but we could say that they're comfortable. We could say that these families, you think about it, somebody's second, third generation wealth, if they're not an active investor, they're comfortable. They're sitting on someone's passing of wealth to them. People say, oh man, is there a difference in perspective when you sit around these people? Why would it not be a difference when you sit around these people? Yes, it's a difference. It's a difference when you sit around these people. Some people say, oh man, do I really got to play this game? The people game? Uh oh. I'm an introvert. I got to play the people game. Yeah, you got to play the people game. You're an introvert. That's the way, that's the game that's being played right now. You're an introvert. And some people say, oh man, where do I get the money to come up for this type of stuff? Where do I get the money to come up to get in these environments? You got to come up with it. Ladies and gentlemen, we were talking to some people once again the other day, and ladies and gentlemen, if you don't think in your heart that you have an opportunity to win in life and that the level the playing field is level, you already have limiting beliefs. We can address this in a public forum, we can address this in a private forum. This is a forum that has to address the fact that, once again, families are having to overcome generational situations. Some families just choose not to associate. So we see the game, ladies and gentlemen. Trust Christian at the vault. We're perfectly fine with it. Oh, mosey wosey. We go into these environments at times, and you got to have a positive mindset so you can get positive results. Sure. We just want to also say that when we go in these environments, guys that are making millions are very focused. They're not out just trying to look at a bunch of ideas and at least entertain them in a way in which they're actually going to give money. Sure, they're going to continue to look at deals because that's how we're in a position as a multimillionaire investor. You're able to, we're always looking at deals. The best investors look at the most deals. That's how we're the best investors. You got to look at the most deals. You got to look at the most companies. You got to look at who's associated with what company and otherwise. It's interesting because one of the guys that you guys can check his channel out, his name's Dave Rubenstein. He's on the Bloomberg channel on YouTube. You all can check him out. Dave says the best investors associate with the best investors. So if we follow this philosophy, ladies and gentlemen, we follow this philosophy. Are you associating with the best investors where you live? Are you calling upon them? Are you associating with the best trustees? How often do you associate with the best trustees where you are? So these are the questions that people can ask themselves. These are the things that we know people can ask themselves. Like, is it a tough pill to swallow for some people? Sure, because now the association doesn't just lend on cost, it lends on, I got to get around these people as often as I can. That's association. And that's something that we focus on at the Vault. The mentors would definitely highlight that to us, and we were thinking about that. It always comes back to your mind, associating, associating, associating. So associating was it's just been one of those things, ladies and gentlemen, where you're associating, and we definitely saw that as a major thing just throughout our life here at the Vault. When you consider associate with higher level investors, sure, you get into these environments where you can feel like they're a little closed off, but this is where you got to bring your A game. This is where you come and you step up and you show your net worth, let alone your nut worth. You got to step up and you got to have these conversations with people in the environment. People. That's the thing. People say, "Oh, the vault's being a gatekeeper." Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the middle of the gap. What do you mean? Oh, you want to be a gatekeeper? What are you? Are you gonna get the information? Oh man, I just want to sit at home and try to get a free lunch. What you mean a free lunch? Free lunch at school wasn't good. And there is free lunch in the public. But they want free lunch. Let me get it up off my credit, my public food stamp, my little birth certificate. Stop playing. But they want to play though. Oh man, I want to get a free lunch off my birth certificate. Instead of going out and growing a company from scratch. And not just doing it one time, but doing it more than one time. They ain't even got a one trick pony in them. But they want to talk about, oh man, I'm supposed to be sophisticated. I'm supposed to what? You're supposed to be able to talk to a securities agent? If you're trying to deal in securities, why are you not associating with securities agents? At the vault, we've interviewed securities agents. We have no problem with interviewing securities agents. So we have no problem with associating with a securities agent. But oh no, no, I'm not willing to spend the big bucks. We know you're not. We know you're not. Look, this is not even the part that could be funny. We know where someone told you got to spend $600 for them to come speak for 2 hours or an hour, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't have them come speak to your family. You wouldn't have a third generation come in and speak to your family for $600. You wouldn't have them come in for 1,000 because you don't want to spend that money. But if you do, then we see the benefit. But if somebody doesn't see the benefit, then we say, okay, what do you expect? That's sometimes the cost of association. Man, I don't know if I could. I don't know if I want to pay that. This was the easy one. But what happens is people think once they pay their ticket, they think that's a golden ticket. There is no golden ticket. There is no, oh, I paid for the association. I bought the network. You don't buy the network. You build it. You go into networks and you build a network. You build an association. Oh, trust Christian in the vault. I gotta find the best lawyers so they could help me in trust. So we get on the line with someone the other day. It's funny because after that conversation, we know it's easier just to ask the hard questions right up front. People say, oh man, I want to be in trusteeship. What's your tax liability? How much did you pay in taxes last year? It's that simple. They actually had a tax company, so let's hear how they're managing their assets. And so we hear these different things because we hear them. We're aware of how companies are being put together and how people are taking salaries or otherwise. The $1 salary or otherwise. We know how they're doing it. We talk to them. But do you think they come on the line and share that with you like Trust Christian in the Vault? No. They're not going to tell you these people are making millions. And they're not going to tell you that they're making it. But they'll claim in the public they make $1. Or I take the minimal salary. These aren't just tech startups either. These are solid entrepreneurs. Interesting enough, we see a lot of consulting companies. Definitely a lot of consulting companies nowadays, whether you want to say they're not just sole proprietor not just sole proprietor consulting, but just consulting across the board. They could be together with a group. It could be a firm. You know, some firms are bigger, but then you got a lot of one-on-one consulting, and you see that across the board through like these third-party websites like Fiverr and stuff like that. You know, work whatever, you know, these websites that you can like outsource work to. So once again, you get around successful people, they tell us to delegate. You think you're not supposed to delegate? You got to delegate. You don't want to hear that as a manager, but as a successful manager, as a great trustee, we have to delegate. It was one of those things where even in trustee training, we could talk about how association allows you to put yourself in a position where you're disassociated, but you're aware of what's going on. You know how things are being managed. See, we got this one situation that came through the vault recently. So this is how it was. There was a married couple, and supposedly they were managing each other's estate, but they weren't married on paper in the public. Well, either way, you're still common law married, and you're managing and you're in the same domicile. Are you using the same business address? I mean, these are the questions that we can ask them at the vault, that they can't just shimmy shammy and skimmy scammo away and say, oh well, I told these people that if you're married, all you have to do is be the trustee of his trust, and she'll be the trustee of my trust, or the beneficiary of my trust, and I'll be the beneficiary of her trust, and that's how we're gonna finesse it. Oh really? Oh really? So is this an open contract or is this a closed contract? Then they try to talk about this contract stuff like they know it, but sometimes we don't see it. Why? Because the one question we've gotten asked recently has really put us in a position where we know what we got to do. When the universe is asking the question to you, you got to answer it. You know those questions that are asked to you often that you like and you want to do, but then people have to ask you, are you doing it? Have you done it? Did you do this? Are you this? Association. It's almost like you either sound smarter than you look or you look smarter than you sound. Hear how that works? So association is critical so you can learn how to move in different sectors. But oh no, no, trust Christian and vote. It shouldn't cost me $2,000 to get into the private environment. What are you talking about? You learning how to get second citizenships and pay for to get it pay to get a second citizenship. As an American, oh man, what do you mean? Get a second citizenship. Oh man, I don't know if me and my family we want to do that though. Exactly. What's wrong with that? You get around other people that understand the importance of diversity of citizenship. And it's welcomed. Really? Yes, it's welcomed. So this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. The marketplace is very diverse. We're years into this. The marketplace is diverse. And so getting around different groups of people is a big deal. Oh man, is it? Yes, 100%. It is a big deal to get around different groups of people right now in the marketplace that are developing technologies, that are doing a lot of different things, whether they're cool things or not, technological things for sure. Any type of professional advancement to civilization, definitely. The life sciences, yes. And so you think you're going to go meet the brain surgeons or people that are creating the newest and latest, greatest technology at the pub? Well, it's going to take some investment sometimes. Don't tell me it's $2,000. Yeah, it could be $300. What if it was that? Or, just we just see the prices range, ladies and gentlemen. Anything more than $5,000 is a stretch out there nowadays from what we see. We see a lot of things out there. We're like, geez, these people are going after people's necks, especially in like trying to do things in different locations. And it's just a wild situation out here, ladies and gentlemen. When we see what people are making people pay for the association. And the association is really like it's de minimis towards the company that you're really dealing with usually. So there should never be a situation, even to people's companies that are going to these workshops and strategy sessions and things of that nature. So we definitely look forward to hearing people's feedback about this episode. Christian at trustchristian.com, moving forward with Trustee Training. Definitely looking forward to that. Christian at trustchristian.com. This is it. The last reason. Of course, the association is going to separate people. Why? Because we know as soon as people get off the phone sometimes with the vault, we're not speaking into existence. We're telling you an option because there's a thing called possibilities and probabilities. This is a possibility out of many, which is people get off the line, they go talk to their friends and family that are not in trust, and they end up failing. You think about it. The ladies and gentlemen, the 1% is not going to be mad that you're not in the 1%. Oh, I tried to take the shortcut. I wanted to go get in this other entity because it was cheaper. Oh, I wanted to go get in this other entity because it seems easier. Oh, I wanted to go get in this other entity just because I felt like it. Well, that's what we see. That's what we hear. And so we're here to say, okay, well, if you're moving like that, just know that when you're in the private sector, the private sector is mentored by private family members. That's it. That's why it's not in the public. The public is by people that usually aren't your family member. Like people's school teacher wasn't their family member. Not all the time. Difference in association, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. This is the Vault, episode 505. Third reasons, third of three reasons you're not in trust is association. It's easy. In association, it's like, are you listening to successful people in your private time or are you just around public people most of the day? Could be a tough one. We know it could be. That's why we keep our ears closed and focused on being around the right people. And association is critical. The top 5 people that you associate with, some people use that as a rule. That's a tough rule to follow because then it's like, are you associating with wealthy people or are you associating with poverty people or people that don't have this or have that? And think about it. You're going to be the average. Let's just say you're the average. It's nothing wrong with that, but let's just say it. And so that's where getting the different associations, are critical. So look forward to hearing people's feedback about the episode. Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. Peace.